Morning, everyone. It is such a pleasure to be back in Ottawa. And as you know, Canada's capital also happens to be my hometown. And growing up, my father instilled in me a deep appreciation for Canadian history. And I was fortunate enough to grow up surrounded by world-class national museums, where my sisters and I were able to learn so much about this great country. The 7 national museums are within minutes of where I am standing. Like Ottawa itself, these incredible institutions belong to every Canadian. The stories they tell and the collections they preserve, they live through each of us. They reflect who we are as Canadians, our past, our present, and our future. Les histoires qu'elles racontent et les collections qu'elles conservent, toute sa vie en chacun de nous. Ça reflète qui nous sommes en tant que Canadiens et Canadiennes, notre passé, notre présent, et notre avenir. The very act of walking into a museum is a reminder that before us came generations of Canadians who shaped this land into what it is today. A single, united country with shared experiences of trial and triumph and shared responsibilities towards one another. When I think of museums, I also think of school trips, March breaks, summer vacations that have stopped here, my own kids, and the countless others across the country. Walking through the doors of one of our national museums is a ticket to learning about and connecting with Canadian history, culture, and identity. Entrer dans l'un de nos musées nationaux nous permet d'apprendre et de vivre l'histoire, la culture et l'identité canadienne. Our history shines with heroic military achievements, industrial innovations, artistic beauty, and athletic conquests. And it all comes alive in Canada's national museums. They are places of great wonder, and they're uniquely ours. There are 7 national museums here in the National Capital Region. There is also the Canadian Museum for Human Rights in Winnipeg and the Canadian Museum of Immigration in Halifax. Now, these are important museums to remember our past, and both were established as national museums by the previous Conservative government. Today, I am pleased to announce that a new Conservative government will take the unprecedented step of making all 9 existing national museums 100% admission-free. Free entry for every Canadian, every visitor, 365 days a year. It's a move that will save Canadian families more than $21 million every year. And we won't stop there. A new Conservative government will also create a 10th National Museum. The RCMP Heritage Center in Regina will be designated as a national museum. It too will be free to visit for all. It will tell the stories of the men and women of Canada's National Police Force, past, present, and future. And we will designate the grave sites of past prime ministers and governors general as national historic sites. Because despite those who wish to sweep some of these leaders under the rug, they have left their mark not only on our country, but on the entire world. They are worthy of honor and respect. Je suis content d'annoncer aujourd'hui que le nouveau gouvernement conservateur va prendre la mesure sans précédent de rendre l'admission dans les 9 musées nationaux existants totalement gratuite. Une entrée libre pour tous les Canadiens et tous les visiteurs 365 jours par année. Ça permettra aux familles canadiennes d'économiser plus de 21 millions de dollars par année. Et ce n'est pas tout. Le nouveau gouvernement conservateur va aussi ouvrir un 10e musée national. Le Centre du patrimoine de la GRC à Regina sera désigné comme un musée national. Il va aussi être gratuit pour tout le monde. Il va raconter l'histoire des hommes et des femmes de la Force de police nationale du Canada, hier, aujourd'hui et demain. Et nous allons faire des tombes des anciens premiers ministres et gouverneurs généraux des lieux historiques nationaux. Parce que malgré ceux qui veulent faire tomber certains de ces leaders dans l'oubli, ils ont laissé leur marque non seulement sur notre pays, mais sur le monde entier. Et ils méritent notre plus grand respect. Because I believe Canada's history should always be celebrated. Now, is it perfect? Of course not. But we must never allow political correctness to erase what made us who we are. We can, and we should, celebrate the giants of our history, like Macdonald, Mackenzie King, and Laurier. We can look to the past, acknowledge and learn from mistakes, and celebrate achievements at the same time. If we look back on our history and our leaders and only see the blemishes, we miss out on a beautiful story of a country that has progressed into one of the safest, freest, and most prosperous in the world. Now, the bottom line is that after 4 years of Justin Trudeau, Canadians just aren't getting ahead. And at the end of the month, there simply isn't the extra money for the nice-to-haves. The rising cost of the need-to-haves, the everyday essentials, leaves little left for anything else. I hear it all the time, everywhere I go. People are working harder than ever, but they're barely getting by, and they're definitely not getting ahead. So this election comes down to one important question. Who do you trust to put more money in your pockets so you and your family can get ahead? And Justin Trudeau has already raised taxes on 80% of middle-class families, and if he's re-elected, his carbon tax will only go up, adding at least 31 cents to the price of gasoline and hundreds, potentially thousands more for everyday essentials. Conservatives, on the other hand, have a plan for you to get ahead. We'll stop sending foreign aid money to relatively well-off countries and stop cutting checks to billion-dollar companies, and instead, we'll give that money to you. We will bring in a universal tax cut for every Canadian that will save a couple with average salaries $850 a year. We will bring in tax credits for children's arts, fitness, and learning, making it more affordable to connect your kids with culture and inspiring a sense of discovery. We'll give a green public transit tax credit so those who take the bus or train to work can save. We'll make maternity and parental EI benefits tax-free. We'll increase the age credit by $1,000, putting $300 back into the pockets of a senior couple. We'll boost the RESP, helping parents save to send their children to post-secondary school. And we'll do real, tangible things like throwing open the doors to Canada's national museums, making them free to enjoy for everybody. I have a plan to make sure government lives within its means, to lower your taxes, and put more money back in your pocket. For you, for your kids, for your retirement. You work hard for your money, and a dollar is always better spent by the person who earned it than by the politician who taxed it. J'ai un plan pour assurer que le gouvernement vit selon ses moyens pour réduire vos impôts et mettre plus d'argent dans vos poches. Pour vous, pour vos enfants, pour votre retraite. Vous travaillez fort pour votre argent et $1 est toujours mieux dépensé par la personne qui l'a gagné que par le politicien qui l'a taxé. I know how hard you're working, how you feel like you are falling further behind. That comes to an end after October 21st because it's time for you to get ahead. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. Happy to take your questions.
Oui, bonjour, M. Scheer, Vincent Froiseau, Radio-Canada. Ce soir, débat en anglais, débat très important parce que c'est le seul avec tous les leaders. D'abord, quel est votre adversaire principal ce soir et à quel point Maxime Bernier, vous devez le surveiller, vous devez lui faire attention parce qu'il peut vous faire mal?
Premièrement, j'ai hâte finalement d'avoir un débat en anglais avec Justin Trudeau. Alors, ça c'est mon concentration, ça c'est vraiment la seule chose que je m'occupe. Ça c'est la chose que je vais travailler aujourd'hui et en préparation.
Sur Maxime Bernier?
Ça ne change rien pour moi parce que je vais toujours être là pour remplacer Justin Trudeau.
En anglais?
So I'm looking forward today, finally, to be able to debate Justin Trudeau in English. He has skipped out on 2 prior debates because he's afraid to defend his record. So that is what I'm concentrating on today, showing Canadians our positive plan for how they will get ahead under a Conservative government and holding up Justin Trudeau's record of failure.
Mr. Scheer, Andrew Lawton, True North. Right now, there's an application being made before federal court by 2 media organizations, my own included, after we were denied accreditation by the government agency, the Leaders Debate Commission. Is this something that you, as Prime Minister, would allow to happen under your government, and what are your thoughts about the state making such a determination?
Questions around accreditation and the proper process for that will really ultimately have to go to the Debates Commissioner, but I'm looking forward to having the opportunity to debate Justin Trudeau in front of as many Canadians that will be for millions of Canadians today.
So are you saying you support the Debate Commissioner having complete discretion on these matters?
I will note that Justin Trudeau passed legislation establishing this Debates Commission without real consultation from opposition parties. So the ultimate responsibility for how this has transpired those questions will have to be put to the Debates Commission. Ultimately, Justin Trudeau will have to answer for how he established this process without proper consultation.
Good morning, Mr. Scheer. Kevin Gallagher, CTV National News. About 2 weeks until Canadians vote. When will they get a chance to see your fully costed platform?
Well, as I've indicated, Canadians will have the opportunity to go through our platform in its entirety with plenty of time before Election Day. I will note that Justin Trudeau still hasn't unveiled a fully costed platform. His platform is full of uncosted, undetailed promises, and a platform without costing is just a wish list. So I challenge him to do the right thing and show Canadians exactly which taxes he will hike in order to pay for his uncosted promises. Oui. Alors, comme j'ai dit, les Canadiens vont avoir notre plateforme tout chiffré bien en avance de la date de scrutin, mais je dois dire que Justin Trudeau n'a pas montré ses plateformes tout chiffrées et il a l'obligation de dire directement aux Canadiens les taxes qu'il va augmenter pour payer pour ses annonces avec aucun chiffre.
But what's plenty of time? Do you think Canadians think 2 weeks to look over your entire promises, what you may or may not do in government as Prime Minister, is plenty of time?
As I said, Canadians will have our platform with all details. We are providing fully costed PBO costing on all our platform announcements, and our platform itself will be fully costed. That is in direct contrast to Justin Trudeau, who has unveiled a platform over half of which have no numbers behind them, no costing, no details. So I don't even think you can call what he unveiled a platform.
Hélène Jetti du Journal Le Devoir. Bonjour, M. Scheer. Le Journal de Montréal nous rappelait en fin de semaine qu'en 2010, vous avez invité le vicaire de l'Opus Dei à la Chambre des communes pour rencontrer des députés, principalement des députés conservateurs. J'aimerais savoir pourquoi vous aviez jugé qu'il c'était pertinent d'inviter la tête d'une organisation que certains considèrent comme sectaire.
Quand j'étais vice-président de la Chambre, j'ai eu beaucoup de réunions avec des leaders de beaucoup des fois, beaucoup des aspects des différentes religions. J'ai eu beaucoup de réunions avec des rabbins, des chefs des autres religions, des imams aussi.
Vous êtes membre de l'Opus Dei?
No.
English?
No.
First part, sir. First part.
So when I was deputy speaker, I often held meetings with different public figures, and those meetings were always open to members of all party and members of all faiths. And I've had many meetings with rabbis, with imams. I was at the historic opening of a Buddhist temple just the other day. I got to meet a grand master of the Buddhist religion. So I'm always holding meetings with leaders of different faiths and different religions.
I'm Mr. Tom Perry with CBC News. Can I ask you, strike's been averted, education workers in Ontario. Were there any discussions between yourself, your team, and the Ontario government about settling the strike in the midst of the election?
So like all parents in Ontario, I'm glad that kids will be in school today. I think if there's one parent who's disappointed in the strike action being resolved today, it's Justin Trudeau. And it's quite disgusting that he was trying to politicize kids' education for his own personal partisan gain.
Were there any discussions between your team, yourself, and the Ontario government
No.
about settling the strike? None.
Comme tous les parents en Ontario, je crois que c'est une bonne chose que les enfants, les étudiants vont être dans l'école aujourd'hui. Je crois qu'il y a seulement un parent qui est déçu que le grève n'ait pas passé aujourd'hui, et ça c'est Justin Trudeau, parce que c'est clair qu'il a essayé d'utiliser un enjeu comme ça pour le petit politique.
Hi, Mr. Scheer. David Cochran with CBC. Your candidate in Burlington, Jane Michael, has made some controversial comments in the past about gay-straight alliances in schools, referring to them as sex clubs and saying that they have no place in the Catholic school system. You fired Heather Leung for her comments on LGBTQ issues. What's your position on what Ms. Michael has said in the past?
Well, all Conservative candidates and members of Parliament will always stand up for the rights of LGBTQ Canadians, and that has always been clear from day one. We are a party that promotes inclusiveness and the equality of all Canadians. I note that Justin Trudeau has not fired his candidate in Nova Scotia, who was tweeted out and made all kinds of misogynistic and racist comments, and so he has to answer for why he continues to allow people to run for him. He also has to he still has not come clean onto why he conspired to keep hidden the details of his anti-Semitic candidate in St. Leonard, St. Michel, and why it took him so long to do, why he conspired to keep those hidden, and why anti-Semites feel so welcome in the Liberal Party of Canada.
You say the Conservatives will vote for inclusiveness. Ms. Michael has voted against inclusiveness by voting against gay-straight alliances. So how do you square her candidacy and her past comments with your stated position as leader of the party?
Well, as you know, I was honored to participate in the historic apology to public servants who were persecuted because of their sexual orientation, and all Conservatives will always stand up for equality of all Canadians, including LGBTQ Canadians.
Good morning, Mr. Scheer. Can you comment on President Trump's decision to pull out of Syria in light of what's going on with Turkey as well?
Well, obviously, the situation in Syria is a very serious one, and we are all watching this very closely to see what the ramifications of this may be. I will note that one of Justin Trudeau's first acts as Prime Minister of Canada was to withdraw Canada's contribution from the fight against ISIS. He pulled Canada's jets out of the fight against ISIS. That sent a very negative signal to our allies that under Justin Trudeau, Canada was not taking its responsibilities to fight global terrorism seriously. That was something I disagreed with at the time, and I will, of course, as Prime Minister of Canada, ensure that our country, our armed forces, always does whatever we can to fight global terrorism. Oui. Alors, une des premiers actes de Justin Trudeau, c'était de sortir nos avions de chasseurs de la combat contre ISIS. C'est quelque chose que j'ai été contre à l'époque. Et comme Premier ministre, je vais toujours assurer que nos forces armées jouent son rôle dans la lutte contre le terrorisme.
Mr. Scheer, Stevenson, Global News. Since you're talking about defense, you haven't talked much about foreign policy in your platform. None of the candidates have. Would you commit to increasing Canada's defense spending for the armed forces that haven't received an injection in many years?
Mm-hmm. Well, I will point out that just before the election campaign started, I gave a very comprehensive speech in Montreal outlining my foreign policy, what the foreign policy of the Conservative Party would be. We also made the announcement just last week about how we will cut 25% of Canada's foreign aid budget to ensure that Canadian taxpayers' dollars are not going to relatively well-off countries, and that we would also depoliticize the procurement process. And it is our goal to get to the NATO target for our defense spending.
Does that mean you would increase defense spending?
As I said, I believe that we can achieve significant amount of savings for taxpayers by fixing the procurement process. Obviously, top line dollar amounts are important, but it's even more important to make sure that the dollars are spent wisely. And under the Liberals, we can see billions and billions of dollars being spent, starting and stopping procurement policies, resetting the process to replace our fighter jets, politicizing the shipbuilding contracts. That adds millions and millions of dollars onto the backs of taxpayers without actually delivering anything for our armed forces. So I believe that by fixing the procurement process, we can spend tax dollars more efficiently, have those tax dollars going to actually replacing jets and ships, and not wasted in starting and stopping processes all the time.
En français.
Oui, alors c'était notre objectif d'atteindre le cible de l'OTAN, et je crois sincèrement qu'on peut régler le système de procurement, et ça va réaliser les épargnements pour les Canadiens. Avec les libéraux, commencer et arrêter le processus pour remplacer nos avions de chasseurs, ça ajoute des millions de dollars sur les dos des contribuables avec aucun gain pour nos forces armées.
Last question, Mr. Scheer.
Bonjour, M. Scheer. Continuez sur la question de ma collègue Hélène. Tout d'abord, avez-vous déjà été membre de l'Opus Dei et pourquoi vous pensez que c'était une bonne idée à l'époque d'inviter le vicaire et pourquoi vous comparez ça à un rabbin ou un imam, par exemple, alors qu'on sait que l'Opus Dei est un groupe ultra-conservateur et extrême?
Alors, pour la première partie de votre question, non. Et comme j'ai dit, dans mon rôle comme vice-président, j'ai organisé beaucoup de réunions avec beaucoup des leaders de les différentes foi, de les différents aspects de la société publique.
Mais l'Opus Dei, vous ne trouvez pas que c'est extrême? C'est plus extrême que...
Comme j'ai dit, j'ai des réunions avec beaucoup des gens de différents aspects de différentes religions.
Pourquoi l'Opus Dei en particulier?
Mais comme je dis, j'ai des réunions avec beaucoup des leaders, des chefs des différentes religions, des différents aspects des différentes religions.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, everyone.